Hello. In this tutorial, we are going to go over how to calculate the average dividends portion on the approximate yield formula. So, in order to understand why we're calculating the average dividends, first we got to understand what the approximate yield formula is. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to use Excel over here so that we can look at the calculations along with the type of question. So the approximate yield formula consists of three formulas. The first one is the average dividends plus the average growth rate of a stock, and all that is divided by the average price of a stock. And so let me center this for us. So that's our division formula right there. We have the average dividends plus the average growth rate of a stock divided by the average price of a stock. So in this tutorial, we are going to go over the average dividends portion of the approximate yield formula. So as you can see on the left side of the screen, I wrote out a sample problem for us. It says, what is the 4-year average annual dividends for a stock with a 6.5% growth rate and a current dividend price of 3.25? And I put in parentheses specifically, round each dividend to the nearest cent. And that's a very important step in understanding the formula. So the first thing we got to do is we got to know the steps on how to calculate this. So step number 1 is to find each year's projected dividends. And you do that by calculating the dividend multiplied by 1 plus the growth rate. Step number 2 says once you do that, add up all years' dividends. So in this case, for our example, we would be adding up 4 years of dividends. Step 3 states divide the sum of all your dividends by the number of years. All right, so now that we know our steps, let's actually do the problem. So we go to step 1. Find each year's projected dividends. And how do we do that? We calculate it dividend times 1 plus the growth rate. So I will put here under step 1, we will say year 1, and we will do that as the very first one is 3.25 multiplied by 1.065. And let me calculate that real quick. And we'll go 3.25 times 1.065, 3.46. Great. So we're going to change that to 3.46. And we just keep doing that for each year. We take the 3.46 because that's the new current dividend because of the fact that we just calculated for year 1. We multiply it by 1.065. And we do the same exact thing. We go 3.46 times 1.065 equals 3.68. We could change that to 3.68 due to rounding. We go to year 3. We go 3.68 times 1.065 equals 3.68. Because that's 3.919 we could change that to 3.92 due to rounding. In year 4, we have 3.92 times 1.065, and that will get us 3.92 times 4.1748, and we can go 4.17. All right, so now that we did step 1, let's head over to step 2. And remember, step 2 says add up all the year's dividends. So what we're trying to do is go 3.46 plus 3.68 plus 3.92 plus 4.17, right? Because all these right there. And let me calculate that up real quick. 15.23. So step number 2 said add up all the year's dividends. We did that. We have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. We added up all the year's dividends to make it 15.23. Now we can go to step number 3. Step number 3 says divide the sum of all your dividends by the number of years. So that's very easy now. Now we have all the variables we need. So number 1, we know what our sum is. It's 15.23. So we go 15.23. And we're going to divide that by the number of years. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 years. All right. And if we want to do that calculation, we just go 15 divided by 4, 3.8075. So the average dividends would be $3.81 because of the rounding. 3.807 rounds up to 3.81. So what is the 4-year average dividend for a stock with 6.5% growth rate, 6.5% growth rate, and a current dividend price of $3.25? We rounded to each cent right here. We followed the steps, and we found out that the average dividends for this problem was 3.81. So if you remember, this number gets plugged into a bigger formula, right? A bigger formula. So if we go back up to the top, and we know that our average dividends, our approximate yield formula is average dividends plus the growth rate of a stock divided by the average price of the stock, we can actually come in here and replace this number with the new number. So as you can see, just to wrap things up, average dividends is 3.81. We found that out by first finding step 1, finding each year's projected dividends for the 4 years that it states in the problem. So if a problem said 5 or 3, you would adjust the number of years for the number of based off of the problem number, as well as the growth rate. The growth rate isn't always going to be 6.5%. It could be 2%. It could be 3.2%. It could be 1.74%. Whatever it may be, you adjust for these things. And so doing it on Excel is a very easy way of doing it. That way you're not having to deal with calculators and pencils and paper and stuff like that. And even if you knew Excel a little bit more intricately than I wanted to display on this video, you could do this in much more clear steps, or easier steps, more efficient steps, I should say. But this is only one part. This is part 1 of your approximate yield formula. So please watch the other videos to know how to do the other portions of this formula regarding the average growth rate of a stock and the average price of a stock. So with that, thank you so much. After you do this video, head on over, watch the average growth rate of a stock video, so you know how to do that second part of the numerator, and then follow it up by watching the third video, which talks about the average price of a stock. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.